Hello guys, welcome back to the workshop. We've got a new angle today. I thought I'd mix it up in light of the subject matter today, which is workshop space. You know, it's all very well coming onto YouTube and seeing these beautiful workshop tours with acres of space and perfectly organized tool drawers and setups. And while I absolutely am guilty of that because I want to share my company's progress with you guys and show you life changes and that kind of thing, I do know it's not actually that helpful for those of you who don't make a living as a full-time maker to inspire a sense of what is achievable in a workshop with the space that you guys probably have. Shout out to my fiance, friend of the channel, Plain Rob,
G'day.
who does understand that workshop space comes before cohabitation. Hats off to him. So this video is going to celebrate and focus upon the hobbyists among you, maybe even the early business owners amongst you as well. I've done that journey myself and I've worked in a huge range of places. Small workshops, big workshops, shared, private, local, intercontinental. But I've also seen other friends of mine who are makers move around and turn their spaces around too, from huge joinery workshops to just tiny backstage guitar tech caves, both from my own experience and from the people that I've met along the way who are a lot smarter than me with this stuff. Here are my favorite things that I've learned. Let's get into it. I want to start with one that I personally wish I knew about when I had a smaller space, and one I actually still hear a lot of people despairing about. And it doesn't get much airtime because it's not super glamorous. And actually a lot of comments on my last workshop tour were about this thing too. So here it goes. Extraction. And this little baby angel here is my knight in shining armor. This is some actual footage of me setting up my first, what I call big workshop, decking it out with all the things I was told to deck it out with, taking off the appropriate corporate boxes for a safe environment. But what I didn't know, and it may make me sound a bit stupid, but I don't care, was that compact, smaller options sucked, in the good sense, way more reliably than all of this intimidating industrial equipment. The only luxury of me doing what you can see right now, so rigging up the PVC and grounding all the copper neatly, was really just because the space was big and I didn't want to run around and change the hose on every single tool I was using. All this to say, you can multitask your dust extraction and your vacuum, and that is fine. So this guy changed the game because the suction is a lot better than my big ones were. It's on wheels, so it's more user-friendly, and it's small. And the bag system means that I don't have to do any cleaning. I just whip the bag out when it's full, toss it away and change the bag. That's why it feels so clean in here, and clean spaces feel much bigger than dirty spaces, which is just obvious, but it's worth saying. All right, let's move on to the next one. You might have just heard me say that my extractor was on wheels, like everything else should be in your small workshop. Dehumidifier, workbench, go bar deck, table saw. The only thing that's not on wheels is me. Imagine rollerblading in here. No. Wheels are really great because as makers we wear a bunch of different hats. If I'm gluing something up, I'm gonna need a very different setup to if I'm planing something. I'm gonna need to move those things around to formulate the space as you go. Wheels are a pretty solid way of doing that. I'll let you into a little secret for the next one. I am a shocking example of this. And that's because my landlord, understandably, does not allow me to put anything on these beautiful walls in here. Absolute waste of real estate. If you imagine your workshop like a little cardboard box that you can unfold and see its full footprint lying flat, every single surface becomes real estate area. That is how you should treat it. I'm gonna revisit a younger version of myself in a previous workshop where I could utilize the walls to explain this next bit. Now a French cleat is essentially a piece of wood cut to an angle of 45 degrees. We'll call this the hanger. There is a corresponding piece of wood, we'll call that the accessory, which is also cut at 45 degrees, so the hanger and the accessory can slot into each other to form a 90-degree angle. Is that right? 90 degrees? I suppose the French music is there for the French cleat as well. This is a really simple, really strong and really effective joint. And as I said, there is a lot of flexibility with this joint because you can just hook it on, slide it around. If you feel like there are tools which you're reaching too high for, you can just pop them down, that's fine. It will probably take you a month or two to get used to your tool wall and find out what needs to be where, and that is where the French cleat tool wall is a perfect choice, especially if you're like me and you change your mind every 2 seconds. Yeah, like when you moved workshop right after perfecting the one that you're on now. Quite glad I can't tell this young woman what is going to be in her future when it comes to workshop moves. I think she'd have a panic attack or two. Now, this is obviously a really huge tool wall, but it can be done on a smaller scale, custom to whatever your space can fit. I used a table saw to achieve the corresponding cuts, 45 degree each, and then made some accessories. And speaking of accessories, magnetic things. Magnetic strips, magnetic hooks. These babies are so versatile, they go a long way. Great little hack there. Not a good use of space, making a throne accessory for your duck. Okay, let's move on to the next one, which is my fiance's contribution to this video. He heard I was making it, and as he's an ex-sound engineer and someone who has worked in a lot of dingy, tiny spaces, he wanted to put his 2 cents in to mention this, and I think he's got an excellent point. Lighting. You see what I did there? Guys, lighting is incredibly psychologically powerful. Making things shouldn't be depressing. Say it with me. Making things shouldn't be depressing. So don't have a lighting setup that makes it feel that way. Shine a light into those corners. And going back to using all aspects of a room, including the ceiling, I found these clamps which clamp to my beams in this workshop, which means that there are always options even if you can't rewire the entire ceiling lights, which is the first thing I'd do if this place belonged to me. It can be the difference between walking into a space and seeing somewhere beautiful that you want to spend time or not. And need I remind you of the quality control implications of having a poorly lit space? Your work will be the biggest indicator that you have allowed yourself to work in a windowless dungeon. Lighting will change the feeling of the whole space. The next one is kind of funny because I think I'm pretty good at this, but I know so many people who aren't. Turns out humans are really wired to adapt to loss. So when you have something like, say, an offcut, instant space-saving killer in a small workshop, I guess you could say the science points to the fact that you're not going to miss that offcut as much as you would if it's going to constantly remind you that you haven't used it yet. I'm drawing that very loosely from the idea of hedonic adaptation, but I might be stretching the facts a little bit to get you to throw out your unwanted offcuts. And I get it, you might come across one a year later and you're like, oh, I forgot I had that, that's so exciting, and then it goes back in the pile, and truth be told, you'll probably never use it. Just here to deliver some dodgy science and some home truths, what can I say? Hold on to space being your biggest gift to yourself long term. The last one I'll leave you with is negative space. There are so many creative ways to fill negative spaces in your workshop, from the more obvious ones like under your workbench to more subtle ones like this coffee table I have here, which also is a home for my vacuum bags. From molds under the drum sander to a wood stash under my very bed, I've definitely made the most of them in here. If there's something that I've missed which is glaringly useful to you and you want to leave it in the comments for all of us to benefit from, please do so. I've just had some pretty heavy news, I'll be honest. I've got to leave this workshop, so stay tuned and stay subscribed if you want to witness that adventure. Can't say I'm super jazzed about it. And if you want to support the channel, then please do hit that Patreon link where I drop tutorials, things about guitar making, and also just life things in there. So if you want to see where I'm going next, then do head over there and join us. I'll catch you in the next one, guys, wherever that may be. Thank you so much. Your support means so much to me at this time. See ya. Whoa. Guess I don't need those wheels anymore. Can you guess where I am? It took me 2 days to move my workshop. I'm fully up and running, so I can't be too far from where I was, but I'm also dressed like this. 10 points if you can figure it out. Catch you soon.